In this video, I'm going to talk you through how to set up and use a hip thruster machine. In this case, we've got a Nautilus glute drive, which is one of the first ones available on the market. So firstly, we're going to put some weights on there. I'd recommend starting quite light. I think when the machine's at the top with no weight on it weighs around 18 kilos. So start off light. I like to use clips on there because otherwise, as the sets go on, the plates can start to wiggle towards the end. So we're going to sit down here and put this belt on. Some of the people I train like to use a towel just to make it a bit more padded so it doesn't dig into their hips as much. Personally, I don't bother. Another couple of things you can do, you can use a band. There's band hooks on it so you can increase the resistance at the top. Again, it's not something I usually do, but it's just another variation. Another thing some people like to do is put a glute loop around their knees so that they're forcing outwards, using their glute minimus and medius a bit more. But the hip thruster machine and hip thrusts in general are targeted at the glute maximus. So the big muscle in your bum, it's the biggest muscle in your body and you can generate a lot of force. But some people struggle to activate their glutes a little bit. So it's something you've got to practice to get good at. So we put this belt on around the hips. It's like a airplane seat belt. And there's two options here. For smaller people, you might want to go to the furthest one. If you're big enough, you can click it in here. And just pulling this alone isn't actually going to tighten it right up. I find if you hold the belt and pull them together, you can get it tight. But you need to make sure that you're not too low, not too high. So the belt shouldn't be pointing downwards or upwards. It should be sat right on your hip bone so that when you push up, it's not digging into your legs, not digging into your belly. Pull it really nice and tight. And then you want your feet to be generally about hip width apart. You can put them a little bit wider or closer, just play around with it. You might even like to turn your feet out slightly. But generally I go about hip width apart, pointing pretty much forwards. And it should be that when you're at the top, your body's in an L shape so that your shins are pointing straight downwards. If I put them out too far, it's going to put unnecessary strain on my hamstrings, but this is a glute exercise. And if I come too far back, my heels aren't going to stay down and it's going to put more pressure on my quads. So before I even start, I'm just going to push my hips up a little bit to make sure it feels like it's in the right place. And when we're doing a movement, we need to be pushing our heels straight downwards, not forwards. If you use your quads and push forwards, you'll feel that you're sliding up the bench, which shouldn't be the case. If you're pushing straight downwards and your hips almost like this way, you should feel like your head's not trying to do this. So make sure your feet look okay. Make sure it's tight. And then when I lift my bum up in the air, this section here is just holding the bar up. So it's hinged behind me, it's going to lift up freely, and this is really just to hold it up. Some people like to hold on to it, but something you've got to be aware of, if you're pushing on this the whole time, you'll get an assistance from your triceps. So you could either put them on your lap, you can hold on to it, I just wouldn't push it. If you do, you'll have to put more plates on there, and it's kind of like ego lifting. So I'd recommend just finding a way that you definitely won't accidentally start pushing on it. So like I said, before I even start, I'm just going to make sure it feels like it's in the right place. So I'm squeezing my abs like this to tuck my bum underneath like so, to really squeeze my glutes. And I want to do the movement, I'm just going to go as high as I possibly can so that I fully shorten my glutes. And I'm going to stretch down nice and low. But what I'm not going to do is go to the very, very bottom because it can take away from your glutes and start to work your quads a bit more. So squeeze your abs, squeeze your bum, lift up high as you can. Push forward so it's unhooked. And now, as I said, I can put my hands on my lap or hold this gently so I'm not pushing with my arms. Sink down nice and low, but not too low. And then squeeze my abs, drive my heels downwards, high as I can, squeeze and stretch down. And if you've done any warm-up sets, you should be able to see how high you can go. And you want to keep it the same when it's fully loaded up because there's no point in going to here when you could have gone this high. So stretch down. If you can, look ahead, almost look downwards at the floor. Tuck your chin in, squeeze your bum, high as you can, stretch down. If it hurts your neck to do this, you can always put your head back and it'll move with the bench, like this. But as I said, I like to look forwards, stretch down, not nice and low, but not too low. Heels downwards, push through your whole foot, really feel your glutes squeeze in, stretch down. And when you're finished, high as you can, pull it back and stop. And if you get to the last rep and you go to failure, which isn't necessary, but sometimes you might want to do that, If you go all the way down, it's safe enough to do, and then you just take the belt off, take the plates off. If you found this video useful, give me a follow, because I'm going to be posting more videos like this, showing you how to use all the standard gym equipment and how to set it up.